Hello, boys and girls. This is Miss Bomar, and I am back with you again today for a new reading lesson. We are going to continue talking about text features while we read this new article. It is a Time for Kids article called The Penguin Census. And so we want to make sure that we pay really close attention while we're reading this article to the really important text features that it has. Because text features help us understand what we are reading, and they give us some really cool additional facts about what we're reading. So I want you to make sure that first you watch this video and read along with me. Then I want you to re-watch the video, but I want you to turn your volume all the way down so you can't hear my voice, and I want you to read the article again on your own. And then after you watch the video 2 times, first listening to me read and then reading by yourself, I want you to click on the other documents that I have added in this post, which is your quiz for this reading. It is 6 questions, so you need to go ahead and take out a blank piece of paper and number it 1 through 6 to answer your questions. And what I want you to do is I want you to answer those questions, and tomorrow I want you to click on my video and we are going to go over those questions and the answers for those questions. So I just want you to hold on to those quiz answers until tomorrow, but make sure you take the quiz today. Okay, so we're going to get started. The first really important text feature that I see is this big giant title at the top, this big heading that says Penguin Census. And a lot of you might not know what that word census means, but I see below here another really bolded, dark heading that I want to make sure I read because it's caught my eye because it's bolded and dark. Scientists are counting penguins in Antarctica to learn how the environment there is changing. Okay, so if I read that, right underneath that, that makes me think that maybe the penguin census is when scientists count penguins, when scientists count a group of things in a specific area. Okay, Snow Island, Antarctica, click, 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 click. Steve Forrest is a biologist. He's standing at the top of a cliff. It's on an island off the coast of the Antarctic Peninsula. Below him are several hundred penguins and their chicks. Okay, so we need to make sure that we pay attention to this next really important text feature. We have this vocabulary word highlighted. So that tells us that that's an important word, and that's one of our vocabulary words. Below him are several hundred penguins and their chicks. Forrest's job is to count every one of them with the metal clicker in his hand. It's not easy. It's snowing. The wind is howling, and the fluffy gray chicks won't stay still. Okay, so it says it's Forrest's job to count every one of them with the metal clicker in his hand. So if I pay attention to that, and then I go back up here to the top where it said click, 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 that helps me understand what that clicking was at the beginning of the story. That was the metal clicker that the scientist Steve Forrest had in his hand, and every time he would count a penguin, he would click that little clicker. So now I can understand why they had that click, click, click at the beginning of the story. Forrest has been coming to Antarctica every January for 6 years. He's helping count the area's chinstrap penguins. It's part of a global penguin census. So there's that census word as one of our vocabulary words. So maybe it will explain exactly what that word means later on. This will help researchers better understand the Antarctic environment. Okay. Oh, and then when I scroll down, I see a really big text feature. It's got a picture, and right here it says chinstrap family. Chinstrap penguins are named for the black band that runs around the throat of an adult bird. Okay, so it actually shows me the kind of penguins that Steve Forrest is counting, and it explains why they are called chinstrap penguins. So that's really important because now this text feature has helped us understand what these penguins look like and how they got their name. So if you can see, they've got this black line that goes right underneath their chin that looks like a strap on their chin. So that's why they're called chin strap penguins. Okay, here's another important text feature. We've got another heading. Okay, and this heading is going to tell us what this section of the article is going to be about. So we need to make sure that we read that heading very carefully. Ocean life. Ocean life. So what do you think by reading that heading that this part of the article is going to be about? Okay, it tells me that maybe it's going to talk about how they maybe swim in the ocean, or how the ocean is an important part of their life, maybe where they find their food, or maybe it will explain what they do when they are in the ocean. There used to be lots of chin straps in Antarctica, but their numbers are declining. Why? All the evidence we have points to climate change as being responsible. Heather J. Lynch says, she designed the survey. Census team member Noah Stryker adds, we know climate change is hitting the Antarctic Peninsula harder than practically anywhere else in the world. Scientists suspect that warming waters affect krill, the tiny creatures that chinstraps eat. So it uses this word krill, and then right after it, it gives us our context clue in the sentence and tells us what that word krill means. And krill are tiny creatures that live in the ocean that chinstraps eat. So they're like little fish. This is bad for the ocean food chain. Whales eat krill, so do small fish that larger fish depend on. But krill are hard to study, so researchers focus on penguins. They're easier to track. They return to the same spot each year to lay eggs. If chinstraps aren't doing well, krill probably aren't either. So krill are really, really important because penguins eat krill and whales eat krill and larger fish eat krill. So if they study the penguins and they study why that maybe there aren't as many penguins living in the Antarctic anymore, then that tells them that maybe there aren't enough krill in the waters anymore. And that is because of the climate change. The climate change is making the water warmer, so the weather is changing and affecting the krill and the penguins and other animals. Penguins give us an idea about what is going on in the ocean around us, Forrest says. That doesn't mean counting penguins is easy. Chinstraps nest on rocky slopes to protect their eggs from predators. Okay, we have another important vocabulary word right here that is highlighted. So predators, if they're trying to protect their young from predators, we've talked about this word before in my class, and I'm sure in all the other third grade classes. A predator is a animal that eats other animals. So they're trying to protect their young from animals that might eat them. Sometimes scientists use binoculars to count the birds from a distance. Other times the census requires them to brave freezing water in inflatable boats. It's miserable, it's cold, but we love it, Forrest says. We get to go places where few people have ever set foot. Chinstraps are great climbers, so scientists must be too. And penguins aren't always clean. Their nesting grounds are coated in guano, or droppings. So these places are slippery and smelly, okay, are coated in guano or droppings. So that tells me where they live is covered in, what do you think? Yep, penguin poop. So there's penguin poop everywhere where they live. So it makes those places really slippery and smelly and kind of hard to get to see those penguins. Okay, we have our next text feature. We have another big heading, drone assistance. So I don't know if any of you know what a drone is, but it's um kind of like a robotic helicopter that you can fly above places, and it has a camera on it so you can see places from high up. So this heading tells me that maybe we're going to talk about how they use a drone to see the penguins and to count the penguins. This year, Forest's research team got help from robotics engineers from Northeastern University. That's in Boston, Massachusetts. The engineers fly a drone over a colony in order to take pictures. The team will use those photos to record the colony's location and size. It will also use them to teach computers how to recognize penguin nests. One day, computers could count penguins. Counting penguins is important, Forrest says. The more we learn, the more we know about krill and the ocean animals that depend on them. What's happening in the Antarctic is happening everywhere, he says. When we understand it, we can start fixing it. Okay, so they're wanting to fix the climate change and what's happening so those kind of animals don't start being affected by what is going on with the weather and the climate change and the krill leaving. Okay, now when I scroll down, we have a lot of text features on this page. The first one we have a globe, and then it has Antarctica labeled. So it shows us in this globe of the world, in this little map, where Antarctica is, and that shows us where the penguins live. Okay, and then I see this big, dark, bolded words right here that I need to make sure that I read, and then I can see the drone right here that they're using to fly above the penguin nests. Look up. 2 students from Northeastern University fly a drone over a colony of penguins. Okay, so those are the students that are flying that drone over the colony of penguins to count them and look at their nests. Okay, now we have more text features down here that are really important, and I see a really important one already that we need to make sure that we pay attention to, and it is this box that says power words. So our first word is census. So that's that word that they've been using through the whole article. An official count of a population. So an official count, the official number of how many penguins are living in that area. Peninsula, a piece of land that sticks out into water. So when we talked about that word, when we talked about landforms in science, so it's a piece of land that kind of sticks out into an area of water. And predator, we talked about that word too. An animal that kills and eats other animals to survive. So that box is really important, and it helps me understand those words that we read. So when you read this on your own, I want you to read these words and their definitions to understand them before you start reading the article again. Okay, and now I see this little side picture over here, and it has a caption underneath it that I need to make sure I read so I can understand what that picture is. Harsh habitat. Rough, icy waters surround the rocky land where this penguin colony makes its home. Okay, so the colony is living on this rocky piece of land, and there is just rough, icy cold waters just surrounding them. So that would be a hard place to live. And then right here, we have another caption. It's kind of hard to see, but it says 1, 2, 3. Noah Stryker, one of the Penguin Census team, counts chin straps on Snow Island. Okay, so you can actually see one of the scientists standing here, and he's got his hand pointed out. We can tell he's trying to count, and he is sitting there counting the penguins in the colony. Okay, so there were a lot of important text features in this article, and this article was really important because it helped us understand how a penguin census is done, how they actually count penguins, that they use a drone to help them, and they use a metal clicker in their hand to help them. And they also studied the ocean and how the climate change is affecting the animals in the ocean and what the penguins and other larger animals eat. Okay, so when you reread this article, you need to make sure that you pay attention to the important titles, the important headings, the captions, and the pictures, and the captions inside of the pictures. Okay, if you have any questions, just put your questions in the comments in my post, and I will make sure to answer them. So just to review, you need to make sure that you listen to my video once. Then you need to watch the video again, turn the volume all the way down, and read it by yourself. Okay, and you can pause the video. That way you can read before I scroll. And then once you have listened to the video twice, you've listened to me and you've read on your own, you need to click the other documents in my post that have the quiz questions. So make sure that you see 6 questions and you answer all of them. And then tomorrow I will go over them. Okay, hope you guys have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow.